Hello. Hi,
Hello.
Avery. Hi. So I just joined, so I don't really know what subjects you have already talked about, but I would love to have a conversation. I'm a convert, of course. You can probably tell, maybe. um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
We're just talking about the Trinity being true. Jesus was crucified. Islam is false in general. Whatever you want to touch on.
I see. Well, I don't know. The Trinity itself. I mean, I think there wouldn't be a single argument that I could make for the Trinity being false that you haven't already heard from all the Dawa guys, from all the people. So like, I mean, we can talk about it, but I could also like talk like because I was a Christian before, and then I accepted Islam about 8 years ago. Alhamdulillah.
So is that what you want to do? You want to talk about why Islam is true over Christianity? Is that what you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to talk about whatever you want. I don't want to waste you guys' time. Also, you said that you were about to end the stream, but whatever you guys like, if you want to sort of like give your own like explanation why you think Islam is false, we can talk about that. Like,
okay, so a big thing for me why I think Islam is false is because of certain claims that's made within the Quran pertaining to the previous scriptures. So the fact that it claims that we can find Muhammad mentioned in the Torah and the Gospel, when obviously we don't find him mentioned in the Torah and Gospel, demonstrates to me that the Quran is making a false claim and therefore obviously cannot be from God. So that's huge for me.
I understand. Well, what I would say is that the previous Gospels, like of course, you know, like when you talk about the Injil, it's not necessarily that we have preserved the previous scriptures. So I think in that logic, it wouldn't make sense that you would say to a Christian, because again, you don't really have the preserved manuscript in the, at least that's what Muslims think, compared to the Quran. Yeah. So it could be mentioned when Jesus alayhi salam was preaching at that time, but to me again, I don't actually. In what surah does it mention that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned in the previous scriptures?
Yeah, so this is chapter 7, verse 157, and this verse actually brings a large problem to a lot of what the general idea when it comes to the previous scriptures by Muslims. Like, you know how you just say like, yeah, you guys don't believe we actually have the authentic scripture and stuff like that. This verse says that the Christians, Jews and Christians, have the Torah and gospel with them in Muhammad's time. And so we have what was in Muhammad's time and before all of that. So that's why like this verse, you know, brings a lot of trouble with that type of ideology. So 7:157, let me just pull it up so we can all look at it really quick.
Of course.
And I thought I had my Quran open, but I guess I got to reopen this. So 7:157, and it says,
Avery, may I just say one little thing?
Sure.
There's a lot of people talking really like mean things about me in the chat, about my appearance and about.
Hey guys, be nice. He's the friendly Muslim. Be nice to the friendly Muslim. He hasn't said anything disrespectful, so let's take it easy. You know, I know how it is when people say that they were a Christian and became Muslim. We know, but let's not be unnecessarily harsh when we have somebody who hasn't been disrespectful. All right. Now, with that being said, friendly Muslim, you are on YouTube, so
of course.
I'm hoping that you gotta have a look, you gotta have some tough skin up here.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
But at the same time, Christians, please have some, let's
Have some decorum, guys.
have some decorum, man. All right, so here's the verse here. Let me make it big too. All right. So 7:157, chapter 7, verses 157. It says, "Those who follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet, whom they find written in what they have of the Torah and the gospel, who enjoins upon them what is right and forbids them what is wrong, makes lawful good things, prohibits the evil, and relieves them of their burden and the shackles which were upon them. So they who have believed in him, honored him, supported him, and followed the light which was sent down with him, it is those who will be successful." So the relevant part is obviously here where it says they'll find the unlettered prophet written in what they have of the Torah and gospel. All right. So they have the Torah and gospel with them. It's in written form, and they can find Muhammad mentioned in there. And this is in the 7th century. Okay. So that means that in what I have even today, because what I have predates the 7th century, we have Codex Sinaiticus, that's the 4th century. We have Vaticanus. We have all of these, right? We have the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's 200 years before Jesus.
Yeah.
We have these texts, all right? And if Muhammad's not found in them, then the Quran is making a false claim.
I understand that logic. I'm sure that there would be an explanation that some smarter person than me would come up with, but I don't really think that again anyone would believe the claims that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mentioned as a Christian. Like, even if it were, like, again, I know that they have mentioned that he is mentioned in the previous scriptures by all the Dawa guys, and I'm sure they could give like a bunch of.
They couldn't give anything. Everything they've ever given doesn't work. It all falls. It all fails. And by the way, this is the problem. The problem with this is that the Quran doesn't tell you where. Like for example, if we talk about Jesus, like here's an example of what Jesus says. Okay, just an example. We'll do Luke 22. Let's do, is it 35-ish? Let me see. No. Let's just pull up the whole chapter. Let's see here. He mentions a prophecy about him. He quotes it and says it's about him. And we can exactly find where this is, but let me just, here it is. 37. All right. So Luke 22:37, which is found in Isaiah 53, verse 12. All right. So look. So here on the right, Luke 22:37, he says, "For I tell you that this scripture must be fulfilled in me." And he quotes it and says, "And he was numbered with the transgressors. For what is written about me has its fulfillment." Now, where do we find this? Jesus is saying that there's a scripture that he's fulfilling, and he even quotes it, so we should be able to find it, right? Well, here it is. Isaiah 53, verse 12, it says, "Therefore I divide him a portion with the many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death and was numbered with the transgressors." There's the quote. "Yet he bore the sin of many and makes intercession for the transgressors." So he quotes part of the verse and says this verse is he's fulfilling it, and we can find it. We have an exact reference. He does this all the time. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Islam, when we get verses like this, right, it never gives a reference of where we can find Muhammad mentioned. It never gives it. And so it leaves Muslims on a wild goose chase to try to find anything in the Bible that may sound or represent or look like it could be talking about Muhammad. But in the context, it never is talking about Muhammad. So they've given everything they can. Of course, you've seen it. We've seen it. There's videos out there. There's arguments out there. none of it stands. None of it works.
Why, Avery, may I ask a question? Why do you think that at the Prophet Muhammad's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that a lot of Jews and Christians did convert to Islam?
There wasn't that. Who told you that?
There were a lot of Jews and Christians that converted to Islam.
We could probably count on our hand the Jews and Christians that converted to Islam, brother. There were not a lot of Jews and Christians that converted to Islam, and this is even from the Sirah, the Hadith. There wasn't most of them rejected them. The majority of Jews and Christians rejected them.
I would say, yeah, of course, the majority rejected it.
Mm-hmm.
The majority, but there were still a lot of people where there were people. There
are people that were reported to have converted to Islam. The reason why, I wouldn't say it's clear. I mean, it wouldn't be scripturally. They don't have they didn't have a scriptural basis for, saying Muhammad is a prophet. You know, it's huge, man. Like this is huge. If Muhammad is not mentioned in the previous scriptures, then obviously the Quran is false. It's making a false claim. And then two, think of this, friendly Muslim. This is a huge evidence or proof that the Quran gives to the Jews and Christians for why they should believe in the Quran in the first place. Right? It says it's confirming what they have. It's in line with what they have. Their scriptures foretell and talk about and prophesy Muhammad's coming and stuff. So when he comes and he's here, you guys have no reason to reject him. He's in line with what you have already told you about this. You should not reject him. So it's a huge proof of its truthfulness that the Quran is using. And so if that falls, Islam is false.
I would say, let me see if I can make an argument. I would say that it's not me being ignorant. It's not me being ignorant. And of course, I don't know everything. But in terms of what was previously mentioned, as again, the Quran says that there are things that are ambiguous. There are things that could be, we don't know whether or not it was mentioned previously and was at some point remade, because we don't have the exact scriptures from the time of Jesus, the exact time that he lived.
Friendly Muslim, I don't need that. All I need is the scriptures that were there in Muhammad's time. That's all I need. I don't need first century manuscripts or manuscripts of the Torah from Moses' time. I don't need none of that. All I need is what the Quran affirms in the 7th century. So they had the Torah, they had the gospel in the 7th century. So as long as I have 7th century, at least, I'm good to go. Thankfully, I have much more than that. I have 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a fair argument. Not that again that I would necessarily say that is the stone cold proof that Islam is false. And that's not just me being ignorant. I think, to me, there's so much in the Quran that doesn't make sense if it would be from made up. Like Avery, what do you think about the Quran? Like the challenges that it sets, and I haven't really heard about the answers from the Christians' side. But what as
like make something like it, for example?
Make something like it, or find contradictions.
Okay. I believe that those challenges have been met.
So I would genuinely love to see it.
I'll do the first one. I'll do the make something like it challenge. So
I would rather if you could show the contradiction, not because I don't want to hear the
no, yeah. Whatever you hey, I'm here to serve, man. I'm here to serve.
Of course.
So you want to see a contradiction?
I would like to.
Okay. So I was using this earlier today. All right, so here's a verse in the Quran. Okay. So this verse of the Quran it says, there was certainly in their stories a lesson for those of understanding. Never was the Quran a narration invented, but a confirmation of what was before it, and a detailed explanation of all things, and a guidance and a mercy for a people who believe. All right, so this is chapter 12, verse 111.
I'm aware of that one. Yeah.
Okay. So this one is basically saying it's giving us different qualities of the Quran, right? It's not something that's invented, right? It's a confirmation of what came before it.
Yeah.
It's a detailed explanation of all things.
All things.
A guidance and a mercy for those who believe.
Yeah.
So what we're going to focus on is the part where it says it's a detailed explanation of all things.
Yes.
Okay. So let's make sure that we're clear. We're not going to misrepresent the Quran. We're not going to add or take away from it.
I think I know where you're going to jump to.
All right. What do you think? I'm curious.
The ambiguous part.
Very good. You got it. So this verse says that the Quran is a detailed explanation of all things, not some things, not things that's important for your guidance or salvation. No, none of that. It simply says it's a detailed explanation of all things, right? Regarding what's in the Quran. However, you have another verse in the Quran that says that it has some verses that are clear and some verses that are ambiguous, as you said.
Yeah.
So the contradiction is this. You cannot have verses you can't have the Quran saying that it's a detailed explanation of everything, while also at the same time having verses that are unspecific or unclear.
Yeah, ambiguous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can I answer?
Yep.
Okay. So the detailed explanation of all things is not, and I don't think you can find an Islamic scholar that would say that the Quran is a detailed explanation of everything between the heavens and the earth and everything. What the detailed explanation of all things is the things that we need, the things that we need to understand.
Watch this, brother. Look, even Ibn Kathir says it. Look, a detailed explanation of everything, meaning the allowed, the prohibited, the preferred, and the disliked matters. Yeah, the Quran deals with acts of worship, the obligatory and recommended matters. Yeah, forbids the unlawful and discourages from the disliked. Yeah, the Quran contains major facts regarding the existence and about matters of the future in general terms or in detail. Yeah, the Quran tells us about the Lord, the exalted and most honored, and about his names and attributes, and teaches us that Allah is glorified from being similar in any way to his creation. Yeah, hence the Quran is a guide and a mercy for all for people who believe. So that's everything.
That's everything that we need. Like, again, what is makruh, what is haram, what is wajib, what is mustahab.
It doesn't say everything that you need, though. It doesn't. Look, you would have a point if it said it's a detailed explanation of everything you need, but it doesn't say that, and neither does it get there.
Everything that you mentioned is the things that a Muslim needs to live his life. So we need to know how we do certain aspects of our lives as practicing Muslims. And
wait, just really quick. Yeah. Notice how it mentions the obligatory things and things that are just recommended. Yeah. Does every Muslim need to follow things? Yeah. Does every Muslim need to know or follow what is recommended, or can Muslims not follow what's recommended?
What is mustahab and what is sunnah is, again, what is recommended, and it's not something that is obligatory for us.
Right. So not every Muslim has to follow these things that are recommended, right?
Not the recommended things, no.
So these are things that you don't even need to know.
It's advised, but yeah, it's recommended, but it's not obligatory. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, this is a point. This is a thing that Quran goes into, or even if they're saying the Quran goes into, that are things that aren't even necessary for you. They're not necessary for you as a Muslim.
They are necessary if in terms of rewards. Like, every Muslim tries to do the most recommended things possible.
No, you do the obligatory things.
We always have to follow the obligatory things, but it's still useful to our lives to know what is recommended to do, what is in favor of Allah, what makes Allah happy.
Will you make Allah happy if you don't do what is necessarily recommended?
will you do Allah? Will you make
Will
Allah
you
happy?
will Allah be unhappy if you don't do something that's recommended?
He will be unhappy if we do things that are haram.
Exactly.
He will be unhappy.
Exactly. He'll be unhappy if you go against what is obligatory.
Yeah.
But he won't be unhappy. He won't be upset at you if you don't do what is necessarily recommended, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is recommended is not necessary. It's not necessary for you, right?
I would still make the argument that what we need to, like, I'm sure there are lots of things, like if you take the aspect of your parents, like, would my parents be really happy if I took a PhD? Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But would they be mad at me if I didn't? No, but it's still nice to know. It's still
would that be necessary for you and the relationship you have with your parents for you to get a PhD?
It would be necessary for me to know what is recommended in terms of Allah, because I want to please Allah as much as possible.
I'm talking about your example that you just brought. You just made gave this analogy.
Yeah.
So in this analogy, would you getting a PhD be necessary for the status of your relationship with your parents?
No.
Exactly. So what is recommended does not determine or affect your relationship or your status with Allah.
I can come with one counter argument. The recommended things can still be the amount of recommended things that you do can still be the things that that lets you enter Jannah. Like, let's say that again, we as Muslims, we don't necessarily know whether or not we are gonna go to heaven or hell. It's all dependent on the things that we do in our lives. And even though the baseline is the obligatory things, that's the things we have to follow. That's the baseline. Mm-hmm. The recommended things can make up for the bad things that we have done.
No, they
so
can't.
We don't believe again, like the Christians believe that.
Right, let me ask you this: if I don't do what is obligatory, but I only do what is recommended, will I go to Jannah?
No.
Thank you.
Probably not. Yeah.
If I only do what is obligatory and I never do what is recommended, am I going to Jannah?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you could do a lot of haram things that you would need to make up with, as an example, recommended things. So that's where it's like.
Then you're not doing everything that's obligatory.
That's crazy.
Well, there's the difference between what is obligatory and what is sinful. We're all human beings.
I don't want us to hang on this. I mean,
no, of course.
If that's how you're going to argue, that's how you're going to argue.
It's okay.
According to the verse, it says that it's a detailed explanation of all things.
Yeah.
So the non-A is that it has things that are unspecific. So it's not a detailed explanation of all things, and so therefore
the other thing is with the ambiguous things. It's again made both to be a book for all times. So there are things that were ambiguous 500 years ago that are now crystal clear, because it's a book for all time. And also, when it is ambiguous, it also in that, and I know Christians would probably say that is just us fishing or us believing in dumb things, but it's also what makes it a test for us to have faith. Just again, as
that's not dealing with the issue here. The logical issue here is that the Quran claims that in it of itself, it's a detailed explanation of all things. That's what it says, right?
All the things we need, yeah.
All right. Do you love your Quran, friendly Muslim?
Yeah, of course.
You honor it?
Yeah. You
revere it?
Yeah, of course.
So you would never add to what the Quran says, is that right?
I would never add to the word of Allah, no.
Okay. Does the word of Allah say that it's an explanation of all things you need to know? Or does it say it's an explanation of all things?
That is what the tafsir that you also showed me, that it summarizes all the things that is relevant in this verse. It doesn't say that it's a book about astrophysics, but that would also include everything.
I'm asking you something very simple. Does the verse say that it is an explanation of all things? Yes or no?
In the translation there, yeah, it says.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's be honest with the Quran. Let's be as honest as we can. The Quran says that. Now, does the Quran also say that it has ambiguous verses?
Yes.
Are those ambiguous verses detailed and explained?
No, of course not.
Very good. So, if there's ambiguous verses, and those verses are not detailed and explained within the Quran, while the Quran says that within the Quran, it is a detailed explanation of everything, that cannot be true at the same time.
What I would say is, again, that whatever, like, again, what the scholars say, what the people interpreting the Quran says, the tafsir, everything, they all agree that it's not all encompassing of everything between heavens and earth, because
that's not true. Ibn Kathir just told you that it's encompassing everything between heaven and earth. He just said it.
He only mentioned the things that are relevant to a Muslim. He didn't mention that it was like a book about astrophysics.
Even the recommended things are not relevant to a Muslim, as you said. The suggested things are not relevant to a Muslim.
It's still relevant because it can make us enter Jannah, and that is the ultimate goal.
What? It doesn't matter. All of that is supposed to be a detailed explanation. If it's not, then the Quran failed. It's a false statement. It's a contradiction.
I really like you, Avery, but I think that's a stretch in my mind, because when I read the tafsir that you showed me, if we're being honest with ourselves, it didn't say everything in the entire universe.
I don't care what you think the tafsir said. I only care what the verse said. The verse said it's an explanation of everything.
Yeah,
that's what the Quran said, right?
Yeah, but
do you believe the Quran, or do you go with your own opinion?
I would say that what the best of the best scholars has said,
I got you,
is the
I'm
one
that understands. I'm gonna show you one more, and then this will be it.
Okay,
this will be it. We're gonna watch you again do exactly what you just did. We're gonna watch you go against what the Quran says and make excuses for it again. This will be Exhibit A or Exhibit B. Over here, here's the verse. Chapter 35, verse 18. It says, "No bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another."
Yeah.
Does it say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Original sin, nothing like that. Yeah.
What do you understand from that statement? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear. It's not like you don't bear the burden of your ancestors. You don't bear the burden, the original sin, anything.
Does it say anything about original sin? You don't bear anybody's sin, right?
No other sin of other people will be my burden to bear. Yeah.
Got it. Very clear statement. And if a heavenly laden soul calls another to carry some of its load, nothing of it will be carried, even if he should be a close relative. So according to this statement, could even a close relative bear your sins?
No.
All right. You can only warn those who fear their Lord, unseen, and have established prayer. And whoever purifies himself only purifies himself for the benefit of his soul.
Yeah.
Can you purify someone else?
No.
And the verse is very clear about that?
Yeah.
So the verse is clear that there's nobody, not a single soul in no situation can bear this burden of another. Is that right?
Of course, yeah.
Remember you said this.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You're going to backtrack by the end of this. I guarantee you. Now let's put the other verse on the screen. Now watch this. That they may bear their own burdens in full on the day of resurrection. So you'll be bearing your own burdens in full, right?
Yeah.
everything that you've done, every sin that belongs to you, you will be bearing, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then it says, and some of the burdens of those whom they misguide without knowledge.
Yeah.
So this means that not only will they bear their own burdens, their own sins, but they're also going to be bearing some of the sins of those they've misled without knowledge, right?
Not necessarily. Yeah, of course. But can I explain?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
That will. So in this ayah, what it speaks about is again the day of resurrection.
Both of them do.
Yeah. And the sins that you do is only on you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you mislead others,
Mm-hmm.
then that is also a sin on you.
I know.
Yeah. So
Now we wait, hold on. We remember their own burdens, they'll be bearing their own burdens in full.
yeah.
In full.
Yeah.
Right? All of it. So that
Yeah.
would include misleading someone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So me misleading somebody is my own sin.
Mm.
I'm going to be punished. I'm going to be bearing that on the day of resurrection. Right? Now, it says and also what I'm going to also be bearing, because I've already bore my own sins in full. I'm also going to be bearing some of the burdens of those whom I misguided without knowledge.
Yeah.
So some of their sins that they've committed, because I misguided them,
Yeah.
some of their sins is going to be put on me.
Mm.
So I will be bearing some other sins that are not my own.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
can I do an analogy?
Sure.
If today, if I manipulate someone into committing a murder, I somehow manipulate someone into committing a murder. Am I also partly guilty for having manipulated them to committing the murder?
You're guilty. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not guilty of murder.
I'm not guilty of murder. And that's also why it is some of the burdens that you have manipulated or you have told. That's also why a lot of people don't want to give fatwas.
No,
because if they do something wrong intentionally or not, you would be punished for that. But it will still only be your sin. It's not that my brother, who has nothing to do with it, will bear the burden of the sins that I have done. But if my brother manipulates me into doing a sin, it's also partly his fault. And that is true in this life and in the next. I
understand. This is why I'm making a distinction. Now, let me make sure that I still man your position. I'm going to still man your position so that you know that I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that me misleading someone into doing a crime, I'm guilty for misleading that person.
Yeah.
So therefore, when they commit the crime, since I misled them into committing the crime in the first place, I'm guilty for misleading them. So I also will be punished.
Yeah, I will bear some of the punishment for that. Yeah.
Now, the punishment of the crime that they did, is that my crime or is that theirs?
That's their crime. And that will also be, again, on the day of resurrection, they will be guilty of murder. I will be guilty of misleading.
But will I also carry some of the burden of murder?
You will not carry some of the burden of the murder. You will carry the sin of misleading them.
All right, so let's do this again. Let me just make sure that you, because you say right, and of course, after I break down the verse and you pretend like you understand what I'm saying, but then when we talk about it, you don't.
I think I know what you're saying. You're saying that this burden, some of the burden that they have made, some of that burden, as an example with murder. So let's
use thievery, because I'm on TikTok too, and it's very sensitive to that word.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Let's use theft.
Theft, yeah. In the case of theft, what you're trying to say is that if I manipulate someone into doing theft, I will share part of the burden for that theft and not for misleading them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I will be my own burden is the misleading. That's my sin. I'm already bearing that.
Yeah.
Now, the actual action of theft, I will be bearing some of that as well because I misled them to do that. So some of that theft, some of that punishment will be put onto me for the action of theft, not just the misleading.
But wouldn't you also, if you made a heist in today's society, if you were part of the planning behind the heist, but you didn't actually go out and do the heist, wouldn't you still be reliable for some of the heist today?
Not to the same extent as the ones who committed the heist.
No, but that's also not what the Quran says. Is that some of the burden?
Exactly. So, for example, let's say same thing with the theft. I teach somebody how to steal, right? I don't go with them to steal. I don't say, hey, now go to that particular bank and do it. I don't give them a plan. I just show them how to do it and tell them how good it is to steal, which then leads them into wanting to go steal, and then they go steal, right? So we can rightfully say that I've misled that person to steal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case scenario, I didn't steal. I didn't make a plan. I didn't draw up a blueprint. I didn't organize a heist. I didn't do any of that. I just planted the seed of theft in this person.
Yeah.
And so for that, when they go out and they go steal, because of that, some of that burden of stealing is going to be put onto me on the day of resurrection.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So what this is saying, my sin is planting that seed of theft. That's my own sin that I'm going to bear in full. But the action of theft, that's not my burden. But I will be bearing some of that since I planted that seed. Makes sense? So do you have the same understanding?
We have the same understanding. The thing about the other verse is, again, when and no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. That's, again, an innocent person will never be guilty because someone else has done a sin. But in the other case, you have done a sin. Whether or not Allah then judges us based of a percentage of the sin that they committed or not, they still, again, that's up to Allah, whether or not He will judge us just as harshly or just slightly in according to theft.
No worries.
Yeah. But
go ahead, Land. Sorry.
Yeah. But the burden of another will never be put on you if you're innocent.
Now, see, notice what you just did there. You had to qualify it. That no burden will be put on you if you're innocent. But the verse doesn't say that. Because even an innocent person is a bearer of burdens, right? They have their own burdens that they have to bear, right? So nobody is innocent necessarily, but I know what you mean. Like, they're not guilty of misleading somebody else, right? That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to put that caveat there. However, that caveat is not part of the verse. The verse doesn't say no innocent bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. It says no bearer of burden will bear the burden of another. Not a single person who bears burdens will bear the burden of another. That's what the verse says. That's in contradiction with the other verse that says, actually, no, if you mislead somebody, then you actually will bear some of the burden of somebody else.
Yeah.
So both can't be true. It's either no bearer of burdens bear the burden of another, or some can.
I would still do the argument that that even though it doesn't explicitly say innocent, it could just as well be, again, like an extra term. Like, just because you scroll to another page and it places another rule on top, like, again, like you can easily, if you read the full Quran and you don't cherry pick one verse and then another verse and say, hey, these two, no, you could actually say that the one verse actually clarifies the meaning.
It doesn't, because you have one verse saying an absolute no, and the other verse is saying, oh, actually, sometimes. They're irreconcilable. That's the point. Now look, if it said bearer of burdens will not bear the burdens of another, then I think that there's room to be like, okay, well, this other verse clarifies what bearer of burden is talking about, right? But the verse is very clear and explicit. It says no bearer of burden can bear the burdens of another. The fact that it says no, it's an absolute no. It's absolute.
If you read the tafsir, I bet it would actually say the same thing that I'm saying. That
Say
if
what?
you say that if you are completely innocent, if you haven't done anything, then your brother's burden will never be your own because he did a sin. That will never be put on you. But if you're
we understand that, friendly Muslim.
Yeah.
We're not disagreeing on that. We understand that.
Yeah.
That's not what we're arguing. We're arguing whether or not no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. Because remember, I told you he was going to backtrack. I said, remember, I broke this down.
Yeah.
I said, watch, you're going to backtrack when you say this. Remember, I made sure it was clear. I was like, does it say no bearer of burdens? He's like, yes, of course. I said, are you sure it's clear on that? Yes. So I said, no situation, no bearer of burdens at all can bear the burden, right? You said, no, very clear. Not even if it was a family member, right? Yes, very clear. Yeah. I said, all right, watch. You're going to backtrack when I show you this other verse. And you're doing it.
Well, again, the one verse is again also on both like the original sin in like that's in Christianity you believe in, right? The original sin. But also again, like that you won't ever be punished for someone doing something else. But if you are part to blame for them doing a sin, of course, it will also be partly your fault. But I wouldn't say that is a contradiction. Honestly, honest to God.
Friendly Muslim, what's a contradiction?
A contradiction?
Yeah, what is that? What is, how would you define a contradiction?
When something or someone or whatever says something and then it has another meaning that again contradicts.
That's opposing, right? That's directly opposed.
Yeah.
So you have, it's like me saying, here's A, and me saying that this is also not A. Or it's either it's A or it's not, right? Yeah. It can't be both. It's either A or it's not. Yeah. So this is what we have. We have either no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. That's A. Or some bearer of burdens can bear the burdens of another. That's non-A. Can't be both. It's one or the other. But since both our statements are made in the Quran, you have a contradiction. You have an A and a non-A.
I know what you're saying, Avery. And I can't say that I agree because I just feel like they're two completely different things. One thing is saying if you're completely, again, you have not done anything wrong, and the other is explicitly if you did something wrong.
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that at all. Let's do this again last time. The verse doesn't say anything about you being innocent. Matter of fact, these people are not innocent. You're a bearer of burdens. Are you innocent if you bear burdens?
You can be sinful, but not innocent in someone else's sin.
I got you. Are you an innocent though if you bear burdens?
Innocent in specific areas, but not in other areas.
Okay. So if you bear the burdens, if you're sinful, you're not innocent before God. You're guilty. Right? Maybe you might not be guilty of some things, but you're guilty of the things you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is not talking about people who are innocent. These are talking about people who are sinful. And these people who bear burdens, the category is bearer of burdens. That's the category of people we're talking about. People who bear burdens. And it says no bearer of burdens. So nobody in this category of bearing burdens will bear the burdens of another. Nobody will.
Yeah.
This on the left says some people will. Specifically those who misled others. If you've misguided somebody, then you are a bearer of burdens who will bear the burden of somebody else.
But
That's
then you have also
the
done something wrong. You have misguided them. Then you are sinful for that thing. And then Allah can say, you have to bear part of that burden because you are at fault.
What you're saying, I don't disagree with. Look, we understand what the verse is saying.
Yeah.
We understand it.
Yeah.
The problem is it opposes the other verse. The other verse says nobody can bear the sins of another. This one says actually somebody can, as if you misled somebody. Can't work.
To me, it makes perfect sense. I know it, like, again.
It's all good. I ain't gonna force you to agree with me. It's all right. But I am gonna end. We 4 hours in. You're more than welcome to join me on another stream and ask about Christianity or ask me more reasons why I think Islam is false. You definitely are respectful. You listened. Just because we disagree don't mean I don't like you, man. You're a cool person. So
yeah, you're a good guy to agree. So will I be on TikTok?
You're on TikTok, but TikTok doesn't save. YouTube saves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, like I said, you can come back anytime, man, and join the conversation. Okay.
Inshallah. It's nice talking to you, Avery.
You too, man. You too.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.
All right. So that was Friendly Muslim. Nice guy. Just what can you do?
I didn't get it, man. I don't know.
Okay, that was probably an easy shahada too.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
Probably easy. They probably told, hey man, we believe in one God and we follow the prophets. He was like, man, where do I sign up? Easy shahada.
He said, how many wives? All right, bro. Say less. Let me know.
Man.